We're here today to talk about the Chevalier FSG 1224 AD3 series, which goes from 1224 up through 24 by 80. So today we're going to show you how easy it is to use the Chevalier 1224 AD3 with auto dresser and compensation. So our example is going to be that we're going to remove 4 thousandths from this part. We're going to take 2 thousandths off of one side, then we're going to use the flip over cycle and remove an additional 2 thousandths, and we're going to show you how easy it is to incorporate the auto dressing and compensation into this program. This is the control on the 1224 AD3 grinder. It's the same control that's on all the AD3 series grinders, and so we're going to start today and give you a brief description of the control.
Okay, as you look at the control, you have jog buttons here where you can jog the axes in and out. So by pushing the button you can move them in and out. This is moving the saddle in and out, which is the Z axis on the AD3. If you hold these two buttons you can make the head go down, which is the Y axis, or Y plus makes it go up. We turn the hydraulics on here. We turn the hydraulics off here. This turns the spindle off and on, coolant off and on. And there is the light button. These three lights right here tell you when you're in the home position for any of the three axes when you're in at your G28 home. On this side, this is your magnet strength. This turns your magnet on. This is off. And this is your auto demag. And this is your strength for your magnet. So we have it turned up all the way. This machine is also fitted with an electronic hand wheel. So you can control either the Y axis, which is the head up and down, or the saddle in and out while using the electronic hand wheel.
So now I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up and operate the Chevalier AD3 series grinders.
Okay, so first we would position the table by turning the hydraulics on. Position the table over the center of the part. Then we would jog the Y-axis down. So now I switch over to the electronic hand wheel in the Y-axis, bring it down. So now it's sparked, that's our top of our part. And now we would hit the Y set to set the top of the part right there. Now I'm going to set my boundaries for my in and out travel. So I'm going to raise the head up, and I'm going to bring the table out to me so I have clearance to the back side of the table so I can get the wheel completely off of the part. And then I'm going to hit Y or Z plus. That sets the back side of my part. Now I'm going to bring the part in and then I'm going to hit Z negative, and that sets my front side of my part. Now my part is set up. For our demonstration today, we're going to be using the step surface grind. And so what we're going to do here is kind of go through the setup of the parameters to do a step grind. The very first thing you'll see here with the arrow with the equal sign 0 means once you've reached your 0 point of your total grind amount, it's going to take 2 passes. To change that, you just go there, you just touch it, and then type in 0 to 9 times is how many spring passes you can take over, or step passes you can take over a part. Okay, the next thing is, once it gets down to 0, how high do you want the head to raise up? And you can change that by going there. That number is pretty much infinite on how high the machine will go. And you just want to, if you want it to be 3 inches above the part, you just say 3 point and hit enter. and boom, at the end of the part it'll go up 3 inches and stop. Next thing we've got is the Z with a small triangle. That is your Z step over in your rough grind. And right now we have that set to 150. We can change that by just touching it. Type in the right size we want to move over and then hit enter, and there it goes. We also have a fine step over in the Z axis right there. So you can see the 3 triangles stand for fine. So you go here, you can change that up there also. A while ago in our previous video, you've seen where our Y set was. That sets the top of the part. And then we got the Z plus and the Z negative, and those set the front and back side of the part. So we can move on from there. When we come over to the right hand side here, and you'll see it says 2/1000ths, that is your total down feed amount. So your total amount you want to take off your part per side. So to change that is just touch it, type in what you want to take per side, and hit enter, and that takes it in. The next option here is we have set at 2/10. That's how much per pass we're going to take on our rough grind. So we're going to do 2/10 at a time in rough grind. The next option is how much stock we want to leave for fine grind. And we're going to leave 2/10 for fine grind. And then the last option here is we're going to switch over to 1/10 per pass in our fine grind, so we can put a really nice finish on this part. So once it gets done with the fine grind, it's going to switch over here and do the 2 spring passes at the very end. What we've also done with this grinder, with this 83, is you have a dress option. We're going to go into dress data. In dress data, we can set up how much and how often we want to do the dress. The way it's set up right now is every 1/1000th of down feed, it's going to dress the wheel. So we're going to leave that there just so we can show a demonstration here of it doing it fairly often. So every 1/1000th of down feed, it will dress. The next option has 2/10 in it. And what that does, it tells it, okay, after you dress, go back and make a 2/10 plus pass across the part as a safety, and then come back and do a 0 pass. So the 0 pass means right where it left off before it went and dressed. That way, in case there's extra material there or your wheel wore down more than you thought, you won't crash the wheel. Your other options over here is this 4/10. That tells how much we want the dresser to take off the wheel every pass that goes across the wheel. And this number 3 here, you got 1 to 4 that you can choose on how many passes across the wheel to dress. We're going to leave it at 3. We also have some other setup things here we can do, but as long as it's an auto and we hit cycle start in our program, it'll automatically do these parameters just as we've done them. Every 1/1000th of down feed, it'll make 3 passes across the wheel, 4/10 every time it goes across, and compensate for it. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this.
So we're going to show you one of the best features now of the Chevalier 83 series grinders. So we've actually went through and we've picked up the top of our part, and in theory we're ready to start grinding. And as you can see, we're several inches above our part, but we could actually be really anywhere at this point because we've set our stroke limits, and we've also picked up the top of the part. And so to demonstrate that, we're actually going to shut the machine off. Let's say, hey, we had a power outage, or we went home, or break time, or whatever. For whatever reason, if the machine was to get shut off, and so we're going to do that right now. So we have actually shut the machine off. And so now we're going to power it back on. And you can see the head is now going up, which is the normal homing sequence. We're now going to start our grinding cycle. Wheels on. And as you can see, the wheel is now coming down. And so what allows us to do that is the fact that the Chevalier actually has an encoder, and so it understands where it's at all times. That's what allows the auto dresser to work accurately. Now these are our rough passes. As you can see, we're not using coolant, so we're being very non-aggressive here. Just simply, we wanted to for everyone to be able to see what was going on, and the best way to do that is without coolant. So now, after this pass is completed, we're going to go to our first dressing cycle. And so this is going to be completely different than a normal automatic grinder, conventional grinder, in that any type of dressing would require the operator to completely reset up his job. You can see the dresser working. And now we're automatically back grinding. So at the end of this pass, we're going to go to our dress cycle again and dress prior to our fine grind. And again, this is being done automatically. Now you can see the dresser dressing. And now we're right back to grinding. So we've now reached our total stock removal, and we're actually going to have 2 spring passes now. So now we've completed this side. That's our finished part, side 1. And so now we're going to flip the part over and continue. So now we're putting our part back on. So now we're going to use the flip over cycle, and so all we have to do is turn it on. And so now the machine understands that we have flipped the part over and that we want to take the same amount off of this side that we did on the first side. And so it's going to automatically come down and start grinding where it finished grinding as far as total depth goes. So we're ready to hit start. And the wheel's on. And we're ready to grind. And again, you can see the wheel coming down. And so the only operator intervention that there has been so far on this part has been to flip it over. And as you can see, we flipped the part over, we came right back down and started where we completed. So when you've got to grind on both sides of the part, this is a real time saver. When this pass is completed, it's going to do its first dress. And it goes right back to grinding. Again, had that been any type of a conventional grinder where you were manually dressing, we would have to go through and completely re-pick up the part. And once we're completed here, if we have another part just like this to do, again, because the machine always knows where it is, all we have to do is put our next part on there and hit go, and it will come down and start grinding at the same point. Now obviously our parts have to be basically the same size. They can't vary greatly. Now we're doing the final dress, and we will begin fine grinding. Now we'll be taking 2 additional spring passes, and then the cycle will be complete. So the process is complete. Table's parked, head is parked. And there's our completed part.